SSLC Social Science Chapter 4 British Exploitation and Resistance. Notes. What was the impact of the British land revenue policies? Land revenue system implemented by the British destroyed the backbone of the farmers. It ruined the village economy. It affected the life of the tribals. List out the features of permanent land revenue settlement. In the permanent land revenue settlement, the tax was collected by Zamindars. Zamindar was the owner of the entire land where he had the jurisdiction to collect tax. While the Zamindars became the owners of the land, the actual farmers became tenants. Farmers were to pay up to 60% of the yield as tax. Tax was to be paid even at the time of poor yield. The tax was to be paid in cash strictly before the cut-off date. Before introducing this system, tax could be paid in kind. How did the land revenue policies implemented by the British affect the agriculture sector? When the farmers were unable to pay tax in the form of money before the deadline, they had to take loan from money lenders at a high rate of interest. The loans were obtained by mortgaging agricultural land. The agricultural land of the farmers who could not pay back the loan and interest was seized by the money lenders. Complete the table. Land revenue policies of the British. Permanent land revenue settlement. Raidwari system, Mahalwari system. Permanent land revenue settlement. Bengal, Bihar, Orissa regions. The tax was collected by Zamindars. Zamindar was the owner of the entire land. The actual farmers became tenants. The tax rate was excessive. Raidwari system, South Indian regions. The land revenue was collected directly from the farmers, riots. Ownership of land was vested with the farmers. Excessive tax impoverished them. The tax rate was excessive. Mahalwari system. Northwest regions. The village headman was assigned the responsibility to collect tax. The entire village, Mahal, was considered as a single unit for tax collection. The tax rate was excessive. What did commercialization of agriculture mean during British period? Traditionally, the peasants in India were engaged in agriculture mainly to produce things only to meet the needs of their family and the village. During the British rule, they were compelled to cultivate crops according to the market needs. As a result, commercial crops were largely cultivated instead of food crops. This transformation is termed as commercialization of agriculture. How did the Indian lands become the cultivating field of Europe? During the British rule, the farmers were compelled to cultivate crops according to the market needs. The products that had demand in the European markets were given higher price. Farmers had to pay high rate of tax in the form of cash before the deadline. To meet this, they cultivated the crops that had higher market price. Thus, the Indian lands became the cultivating field of Europe. Identify the major crops that were widely cultivated in that period. Indigo, Bengal, Bihar. Cotton, Maharashtra, Punjab. Sugarcane, Uttar Pradesh. Tea, Assam, Kerala. Jute, Bengal. Wheat, Punjab. Complete the table given below. Peasant revolt. Peasant revolt, reason, cause, result. Indigo revolt, reason. Farmers received advance amount from British agents to pay high taxes and was compelled to cultivate indigo. The land used for the cultivation of food grains was to be reserved for indigo plantation. The farmers received only a lower price for indigo. Due to the invention of artificial colors, the demand for indigo declined. Indigo revolt cause. In 1859, the farmers of Bengal organized themselves and declared that they were giving up indigo cultivation. Attacked indigo factories with bows, arrows, swords and spears. Educated people from Calcutta supported. Indigo revolt result. The government immediately appointed a commission to study the problems of the indigo farmers. The commission found that the indigo farming was uneconomic and proposed to stop it. Peasant revolt in Kerala. Causes. Exploitation and suppression of the landlords and the British. The British treated the Genoese landlords as owners of the land. Eviction of tenants. Farmers of South Malabar Maplas were tenants who cultivated the land obtained on lease from landlords. Course. Around 22 peasant revolts took place in Malabar. To suppress these revolts, the British raised a special armed police battalion named Malabar Special Police (MSP). Result: to inquire about the frequent revolts, the British government appointed William Logan Commission. The commission pointed out that the cause of the struggle was the unfair land revenue system of the British. Complete the table. Tribal rebellions. Main reasons. The Forest Acts imposed by the British made the life of tribals miserable as they had depended on the forest for their livelihood. They were prohibited to enter forest when the British declared forest as protected. The British levied tax at higher rates on the forest produce collected by the tribes. Tribal rebellion, reason, cause, result. Tribal rebellion, Sandal rebellion 1815, Rajmahal Hills. Reason, zamindars and moneylenders captured their land. The British officers made them work as slaves in laying railway lines. Cause, take up arms against the British under the leadership of Sidho and Kanu. Result, thousands of Sandals were killed in the struggle. Kuruchia Revolt, Kuruchia and Kurumba tribes of Wayanad in 1812. Cause, imposition of excessive tax by the British, compulsion of paying tax in cash, seizing of agricultural land for non-payment of tax. Cause, the revolt was led by Kuruchia leader Ramanambi. Result, the British government suppressed the struggle and killed Ramanambi. List out the important tribal rebellions. Sandal Revolt, Kuruchia Revolt, Paharia Rebellion, Field Rebellion, Kol Rebellion, Munda Rebellion, Khasi Rebellion. ഈ റിവോൾട്ടുകൾ ഉൾക്കൊള്ളുന്ന ഒരു വീഡിയോയുടെ ലിങ്ക് താഴെ ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷനിലുണ്ട്. കണ്ടതിന് ശേഷം നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അസൈൻമെൻറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ ഇത് ഉപകരിക്കും. Examine the causes for the decline of traditional industries. Textile industry. Large scale import of machine-made British textiles. The machine-made textiles imported from Britain could be sold easily for they were cheap. The expansion of railway. It helped the British to carry the imported fabric from port towns to interior villages and the cotton collected from villages to the ports for exporting to Britain. Thus, Indian weavers lost their business in village market too. Losing the British market. Due to the higher tax levied, the price of Indian textiles exported to Britain increased. So, it lost the British market. Weavers gave up their work. Weavers gave up their work massively due to the exploitation and torture of the British officers. So they searched for other jobs. Export of raw materials. List out the immediate result of the decline of the textile industry or traditional industries. Decline of urban centers. Thickly populated textile centers like Murshidabad and Dhaka became least inhabited. Decline of rural areas. The number of people who engaged in agriculture to earn a living increased. The people who had been working in textile industry migrated to villages and engaged in agriculture-related works. Fragmented the agricultural fields and the production felt to be stagnant. Famines. The ruins of agriculture sector and the handicraft industry led India to famine and deaths due to starvation. Lakhs of people died of famine. Complete the table. Village industry, cause of decline. Pottery, import of aluminium vessels. Tanning, export of raw leather to Europe. Carpentry, use of machines made of metals. List some of the modern industries that was established by the British in India. Textile, jute, steel and paper industries. List out the major problems faced by the laborers in the modern industries. Prolonged working hours, meager wages, unhealthy accommodation. Give the examples for the agitations of the workers against the British exploitation. Great Bombay Textile Strike and Calcutta Jute Mill Strike. What was the limitation of the agitations of the tribals, the peasants and the workers in common? These agitations were limited to the respective regions. These agitations were not well organized. Mention the different names used to denote the War of 1857. First War of Indian Independence 1857, Revolt of 1857, Sepoy Mutiny. List out the reasons of the Revolt of 1857. Miseries of the Sepoys. Poor salary and abuse by the British officers. The rumor that the cartridge in newly supplied Enfield rifles were greased with the fat of cows and pigs provoked them. This wounded the religious sentiments of the Hindu and Muslim soldiers. Dissatisfaction of kings. Doctrine of lapse. The princely states were convicted of inefficient rule and were annexed by the British. Miseries of the common people, miseries of the farmers, poverty of the craftsmen. What was the salient feature of the revolt of 1857? The salient feature of this rebellion was the active participation of the common people like farmers and craftsmen. What was the real strength of the rebellion? The real strength of the rebellion was the Hindu-Muslim unity. List out the important leaders of the revolt of 1857. Mangal Pandey, Bahadur Shah II, Rani Lakshmi Bai, Nandya Topi, Begum Hasrat Magal, Nana Sahib, Maulavi Ahmadullah. ഇത്രയും പേരെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് അടങ്ങുന്ന ഒരു വീഡിയോയുടെ ലിങ്ക് താഴെ ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷനിൽ നൽകിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. അസൈൻമെൻറ്റ് പോലെയുള്ള ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസിന് ഉപയോഗിക്കാം. What was the results of the revolt of 1857? The rebellion was completely suppressed. Hindu-Muslim unity, a spirit of cooperation. Declared Bahadur Shah II as the Emperor of India, 1.5 lakhs of people were killed. It was marked as the foremost massive resistance of the Indians against the British. The British Parliament took over India from the British East India Company. It brought about several changes in the policies and administration of the British. Economic exploitation of the British reached its extreme level. ഒന്നോ രണ്ടോ മാർക്കിനുള്ള ചോദ്യമാണെങ്കിൽ ഈ ഒരു പോയിൻ്റാണ് പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ടത്. ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് പാർലമെൻറ്റ് ടുക്ക് ഓവർ ഇന്ത്യ ഫ്രം ദ ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ഈസ്റ്റ് ഇന്ത്യ കമ്പനി. What was the major factor that led to the emergence of Indian nationalism in the 19th century? The economic exploitation of the British created an anti-British feeling among different sections of people. This attitude was a major factor that led to the emergence of Indian nationalism in the 19th century. What is nationalism? Nationalism is the sense of unity among the people of a country, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, and region. Give one example of organized form of nationalism. Indian National Congress, formed in December 1885 in Bombay, 72 delegates. Led the anti-British struggle from 1885 till India attained independence in 1947. What is train theory? Dadabhai Navroji, through his train theory, explained that the train of wealth to England was the root cause of poverty and starvation in India. The way by which the Indian wealth flowed to Britain are as follows: export of Indian raw materials, salary and pension to the British officers in India, profit gained through the sale of the British products in India, tax from India. What is economic nationalism? The common people realized that the poverty and exploitation they faced had been the creation of the British through the teachings of the leaders like Dadabhai Navroji, Ramesh Chandra Dutt, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. It reinforced their anti-British attitude. The nationalism grown out of such awareness is termed by some historians as economic nationalism. What was the strategy introduced by the leaders to check the economic train? Strategy adopted in the anti-partition movement of Bengal in 1905. Boycott of foreign goods, consumption of indigenous products. Briefly evaluate the role of Swadeshi movement in the Indian nationalism. Swadeshi movement, new method of resistance. To check economic train, the early national leaders pleaded with the people to boycott foreign goods and strengthen Indian industry by consuming Indian products. As part of the agitation in the anti-partition movement in Bengal, foreign goods were collected and burned publicly. The extensive use of indigenous products by discarding foreign items rejuvenated Indian industry. It was during the Swadeshi movement that the British chemical store in Bengal, the Tata Iron and Steel plant in Maharashtra, and the Swadeshi Steam Navigation Company in Tamil Nadu were established. Participation of women, laborers, and students were another remarkable feature of this movement. Washermen vowed that they would not wash foreign clothes. The priests swore that they would not perform rituals and prayers using foreign items. Women boycotted foreign bangles and utensils. Students quit these schools to take part in the movement. The leaders like Balagangadhara Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandra Pal emphasized the necessity of overthrowing the foreign rule.